How are we doing?
Hi, Ian.
Hey Ian, welcome. Thank you everybody for joining tonight. I'm Rod Gammons. I'm CEO of Rotolight, and this is my lovely assistant Charlie Mills, who handles all our marketing here and often is replying to you guys on social. So great to see you guys, and great to be here tonight. So what I want to do really in this is give you a little bit of a presentation on the new lights, talk you through the pros, show some results, and then really just open it up to your questions. So any questions you might have about the lights, technical questions, anything you want to know, really happy to go through that and kind of help see if we can bring it to life for you guys. So without further ado, let me skip forward. And for those of you who don't know, if I tell you a little bit more about Rotolight, we are a family-owned business. So I actually started the business with my dad 13 years ago. We're based here in the UK, and we actually manufacture every single product we make in the UK. So everything from the plastics to the electronics are all made right here. And to be frank about it, it's more expensive for us to do that, but we feel like it gives us a higher quality of product, and it allows us really to show what we're doing. And ultimately provides you guys with a product that's going to last, that you can invest in, with confidence. So let me just see here. Can you still see the screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone here. Perfect. Okay, great. So if you don't know already, Rotolight has been lucky enough to win a lot of different awards. I think one that stands out for us is winning the Best on Camera Flash Award in 21. It's the first time an LED light ever won Best Flash, and I think that's quite a turning point for the industry. I think there are two kind of things happening. One is that mirrorless cameras are getting better and better, and noise sensitivity of cameras is getting better. So what that means simply is that cameras require less light to produce higher quality images, and whereas it may have been true 10 years ago that everything had to be shot ISO 100. In order not to have noise. It's just simply not the case nowadays. You could happily shoot an image on a modern camera at ISO 400, ISO 800 without really seeing any noticeable degradation of quality. And what's also happened is LED lights are getting brighter and brighter. And at Rotolight, we're really pioneering those power increases combined with improvements in optics. And so the two things are colliding, whereby LED lights are brighter, cameras require less light and are better with noise sensitivity, and so they're becoming more and more useful for people in your work. And there are really kind of 5 key things that separate Rotolight from other lights you might see in the market. The first is that Rotolight is the only company in the market that is both a continuous light and a high-speed sync RGB flash all in one. And why is that an advantage? Very simply, if you're using a traditional strobe or speed light, you have that recycle time, which can often be 1 or 2 seconds. And yet, if you buy a modern camera, those cameras can do 10 or 11 frames per second. And Rotolight is the only light in the entire world that can do a 1-to-1 flash and keep up with those cameras. And not only can it flash with no recycle time, but it can flash at any Kelvin. So now if you're taking a shot at sunset, what you don't want is a cool blue light. You want a warm light that's matched to tungsten, and being able to dial in 3000 Kelvin or make subtle adjustments. Likewise, if you're doing anything creative where you want some color in your work, previously you'd have to buy gels or own gels. And let's say you want red. Maybe I have a red gel, but it's too much red or it's not enough saturation. With the beauty with these lights now is I can flash this in any RGB color, in any gel color, in any Kelvin electronically. Rotolight's also pioneered world first electronic diffusion, which was found first on our Titans and is now available on our AEOS 2s as the world's first electronic softbox, which gives you up to 2 stops of variable diffusion. Being a smaller modifier, it means it's not going to catch the wind in the same way, and it kind of gives you a harder and softer light source all in one. Rotolight is still today the only light in the market with a full color touchscreen display, and people are used nowadays to with your iPhones, just the simplicity of being able to control things that way. And what we wanted to do with this light was just make it super easy for people to work, to operate and understand. And lights are getting more and more clever with the things they can do. And yet, what we're trying to do here is make it simple and accessible. We may as well, Charlie, I guess, get this going as well. What do you think? And guys, by the way, send us your questions. I do know the questions coming in. Keep them coming, and I'll get to all of them in the Q&A section, but do keep them coming in. We also, for those of you already existing owners, we launched our iOS and Android app a couple months ago, and we continue to bring out new features. One exclusive thing I can tell you guys, which you're hearing here for the first time, is that we're going to be announcing a free of charge feature to the app to all existing Neo 3 and AEOS 2 owners very shortly, where you can take a picture and drop your finger over any portion of the image and select that color, and then the light will match the color. Now, why would you want to do that? Maybe you're doing a shoot for a fashion brand where you've got a particular shade of dress that you want to match the color to. Maybe you're doing a shoot with a corporate client where they've got a special color on their logo, or you're doing a shoot with a car manufacturer and you want to match that color. That's a really cool feature, and that's going to really enable for people to save a lot of time on shoot. And then finally, in terms of special effects, Rotolight pioneered special effects in LED lighting. We have the biggest range. We designed them with Stefan Langer, who did the last 7 Bond movies, Tomb Raider, Batman, and we continue to provide unparalleled level of customization. So let me jump straight into the Pro lights and tell you, what's new, what's exciting about them from our point of view. And I'm going to jump straight into the AEOS 2 Pro. So really the way to think about these two lights, guys, is that both of these lights have the identical same feature set. They have the identical same touchscreen display, same size. The difference is really in form factor and power. So the AEOS 2 Pro is 2.5 times more powerful than the Neo. And just by virtue of basic physics, it's physically a lot larger, a much larger aperture. And so the light is inherently softer out of the AEOS because of that additional surface area. They do use the same LED and the same optics. What you have on this light compared to the previous generation is up to 25% more power in continuous mode. I've actually got a little bit of a chart to show you guys on that in a sec, because I know a lot of you guys have got questions on that. To be clear, there is no improvement in output on flash mode. We're already running these lights as absolute peak output in flash. But the additional output in continuous mode is around 1/3 of a stop. More power is always better, in my view. I think it helps. It means that these are even more useful in, for example, outdoor shooting with AEOS. But I think the thing everyone's probably most excited about is that we've now built in Godox and ProPhoto native integration, as well as several others, Yongnuo, Flashpoint, Neewer, Pixar and they all now work with these products also. And I know a few people have asked questions, so maybe I can just clarify this. There's no way of providing this functionality retrospectively to a Neo 3 or even an older generation. And simply the reason for that is that what we've done in these Pro models is actually add additional physical flash receivers inside of the light on the circuit board. So there is an Elinchron receiver and a Godox receiver. And so we can't add that retrospectively because it wasn't there. But one thing we have announced, if I just skip forward a little bit, because we always want to try and do our very best to provide functionality for people. We're very grateful for obviously the loyalty you guys have shown. And so this is really cool. No one's ever done this before. We've announced something called Universal Flash Slave Mode. And what this does is this allows the light to receive a flash command from a Godox transmitter or a ProPhoto transmitter if you have a new Pro unit. And then it will send the slave signal using the spare chip that's inside the new Pro model. And it would distribute that slave command to any Rotolight that's listening. So anything that we've sold since 2017, so that could be a Neo 2, an AEOS 1, a Nova, Titan, will now all flash from a Godox or ProPhoto with no receiver needed, no physical hardware at all. and you don't even need to download a firmware update for that to work. You just put the light into flash mode. I know several of you have asked when that feature will be available. To be clear, it will be available on shipping. So that's really cool. That is something that, hopefully helps you guys out there who are going to buy maybe one Neo or AEOS to add to your collection, that will update your whole range for you. The other really cool thing with these new Pro Editions is we've added over 100 built-in presets from leading masters of light and filmmakers around the world. So we will be adding to this constantly. So actually, at the moment, we have Jake Hicks, who's a phenomenal fashion editorial photographer, amazing use of color. He was a Lee Filters ambassador for several years. Sam, Peter, Jason, and several more to come. And then on the filmmaking side, we have Roy Wagner, who is a 2-time Emmy-winning director of photography. He did Nightmare on Elm Street, CSI, House, Ray Donovan. Stefan Langer has also won an Emmy for visual effects. Did the last 7 Bond movies, including No Time to Die, Batman, Tomb Raider, Mission Impossible, just a huge collection. And Denson Baker was Cinematographer of the Year last year. And so what these guys have done is when you now go into the gel page, there's a little drop-down arrow, and it actually has their names in the light. So you'll see the name Sam Nash, for example. And then it actually shows you all of their colors, so you can see the color before you select it. And it's their selection for gels, their selection for RGB colors, and just allows you to, really save time, because, I think 16 million colors is great, but sometimes maybe that's a lot of choice, and this can get you up and running quickly. So here's some examples of what that looks like. So these are 3 examples of Jake Hicks, all with his preset packs that you'll find inside these new Pro Editions. Now, if you do own a Neo 3 or an AEOS 2, what you can do is you can go onto the Indiegogo campaign, which is at rotolight.com/timesgopro, and you can actually purchase the preset pack for your existing lights. You only need to buy it one time. So if you have 3 or 4 standard models, then you need to purchase it once. We've had a few questions coming on how does this work. Very simply, you'll be provided with a coupon code which you'll enter on the app. The app will then send a firmware update to your light, which will add all of the presets actually in the light itself, and to the app as well. It will unlock those new presets in the app for you, so you can use them on the go. For those of you who are not familiar with the AEOS, it's less than 1-inch thick. It's under 3 pounds or 1.5 kilos in weight, which makes it the thinnest, lightest LED panel in the market. Solid aluminum, as our American friends say, handles on the product, and we've made these beautiful kind of red custom edition handles for it. It's got 1/4-20 mounts top and bottom, so you can put it straight onto your tripod. Although what I would say is that I strongly recommend the yoke. Every single bundle that we sell on the campaign, apart from the entry-level single light, so everything else like the Image Maker kit or the Traveler kits or any of the premium bundles, they all come with yokes as standard. The yoke allows you to tilt. Do you have the yoke there, Charlie? Somewhere around? Oh, in fact, there's one behind us. The yoke allows you to tilt the light very easily to control it, and it's really the best way of working with the AEOS, particularly sort of center of gravity. So highly recommend picking up one of those if you've not. If you are an existing owner, you can pick this up for 25% off at the moment in the store. Obviously, it runs on V-mount, and all of the packages, apart from the single light bundle, come with the battery as standard. So how does the AEOS compare to competition in the market from an LED point of view? Nearest competition to this would be things like the light panel Astra, the Gemini 1x1, the Aperture P300. Nothing else in this market has touch screen. Nothing else has the electronic diffusion capability. None of them can flash. We have 2,500 digital gels built in versus 100 or 300. We have the best color accuracy in the market, TLCI of 99. TLCI means a television lighting consistency index, and they sampled 100 different cameras to see how does the camera see the light and how does the light replicate that. And it's measured very, very accurately. We're the lightest, so 1.4 kilos, versus 10 kilos on the aperture, or 20 pounds, which just means it's much easier to work with, much easier to carry if you're doing it by yourself. 120 watt continuous consumption. When we're in flash, we actually are drawing 240 watts instantaneously. And that compares with the 360 watts on the aperture, for example. So it uses 3 times more power, and yet it produces less light output. So we have a brighter lux at 3 feet than they do, which just shows you how efficient. And how we achieve that is with optics. So we have a very efficient optic that focuses that light down to maximize the output for you. We also have a really cool new feature in the light called true aperture dimming. And very simply, the way that works is that a lot of you guys were saying to us, what does 70% brightness mean? How does that translate to an F number, for my current camera setting? So what's really cool with that is you can now go into the light and you can tell the light, this is the maximum ISO I'm happy to shoot. So for example, that's probably going to be like ISO 400, maybe 800. What's your shutter speed, which is usually determined by your focal length, and then roughly how far is the subject from the light. Now the light knows how bright it is at different distances. So what's cool is when you enter that information, the light will now display the light output not as a percentage, but it will actually display the light output as an f-stop. So it will now tell you, right, at these settings, the light is outputting f2.8. Now you may not want to shoot a 2.8, you may want to shoot a 1.4 or 5.6, and you can now adjust the light as an f number to be correctly exposed for your settings, and it eliminates the need to use a light meter. So that's, again, something no one else has. No one else has presets. So what are people saying about it? Digital Camera World have had these on test now for a couple of weeks, and they said, this is portable, professional powerhouse, an absolute game changer. If you've never used a Rotolight, this is what all the fuss is about. This is the best AEOS ever, and by far the best AD panel we've ever used. This is like any serious photographer or videographer needs to have in their arsenal. And Amateur Photographer, this came out just about 24 hours ago, also just awarded this their test bench, so they really put it through its paces, totally independent. Gave us their highest gold award, 5 stars, and said, for photographers and filmmakers, this is just pure convenience, and it's ideal for both studio and location work. Results, it's always about the results, right? What does it actually look like? How is this going to help my work? So the AEOS is absolutely perfect if you're doing portrait photography. That could be both outdoors and also studio based. It's also phenomenal for things like weddings and events. Of course, it's great for if you happen to do things like corporate headshots. And on the video side, if you ever happen to do any video work, wedding videography, corporate commercial work, music videos, of course, it's absolutely fantastic for that. So I think in these images here, the things I like to point out is, firstly, look at that skin tone. You have this absolutely beautiful skin tone rendition that you get with Rotolight. Now, you would have heard Jason say before that one thing with Rotolight is that because, if you think about a typical strobe or a flash, you have a tiny little element, one element, that's producing all the light that's about 1 inch by 1 inch. With Rotolight, you have something that's 10.5 inches across. And instead of there being one element, there's over 120. And so what happens with the light is that it's naturally much softer and it's much more usable. So you would never ever shine a strobe bare bulb straight onto a subject. You're always going to bounce it, put it through a softbox. With Rotolight, you genuinely can put it straight onto a subject, and particularly with the diffusion dome. So, I think that is one point I would make, is people can often get very hung up on guide numbers and lux output at different distances, and they're important, and we of course publish those. But with a flash, that output is never accessible because you are never ever going to point it straight at the subject. If you bounce that light off the ceiling, you've already lost half of it straight away. And if you put a filter on it because the flash is not a daylight, it's actually, you want it a tungsten, you've lost another 30% immediately. So that is one of the things to think about is, I'd honestly encourage, if you've not tried one yet, to try one of these lights, because we've done a ton of events. We've got 2 more events this weekend in London and Leicester. if you're in the UK. We will be announcing a full program of events for January and the new year shortly, so keep a lookout for those. But just try it, because these lights, honestly, when you use them and you see the advantages, this kind of thing where you're shooting in low light situations in the evening, you would never use the lights in this scenario, particularly in AEOS, probably above 20 or 30% power, because if you did it more than that, you'd overpower all of the ambient light. So you're never going to have a situation with an AEOS in that kind of environment where it's not bright enough. These are some shots from a recent Creativity Hub event lit with AEOS 2 Pro. Again, if you look on the image on the right-hand side, look at the beautiful round catch light. That's something Rotolight's very famous for, is the round catch lights give a beautiful soft output of light. You can see things like weddings, two AEOS 2 Pros here, outdoors. It's get rid of all the shadows. It's really made the eyes pop. It's complementing the light. So, if you are a natural light photographer, or kind of like shooting natural light, actually working with Rotolight is a very natural transition, because it helps complement the natural light, but gets rid of those horrible shadows that you can't control from the sun and from other sources. So, here's another example of two AEOSes. In this situation, people often say, can I use the AEOSes outdoors? Absolutely, of course you can. Look at this situation. You've got the sun behind the subject, so we're competing with the sun, and yet the AEOSes from the front side are eliminating the shadows, are filling in beautifully, giving us that lovely catch light. And so, and that's even using the domes on those lights. That was in flash mode. Here's a couple of shots I've taken with them. So on the left-hand side, that's a single Neo 3 Pro. The right-hand side, I was actually really thrilled recently that my image was on the front cover of Amateur Photographer this week. And I lit that with one AEOS 2 Pro inside of an R90. And I had a Neo 3 Pro behind, actually sitting in the booth there, kind of giving a kind of uplight, making it look like it was the lighting on the wall. These are some images from Jason, again showing you outdoor use. The image on the right was actually a bit later in the day, but you can see what it's doing on the left-hand side, filling in beautifully. So you absolutely can work with these lights outdoors, no problem at all. I can see all the questions coming in. Should we take a couple of questions now, Charlie, and then we'll keep going onto the Neo?
Yeah.
Let me see here. So, hey Frank, hey Ian. Okay, so Acme Photographic has said, will the electronic diffusion eventually be built into the AEOS Pro, and will that tech filter down to the Neo Pros? So the answer very simply is no. There's no intention to build it into the front of the light. The reason for that is very simple, actually. And if I take this off, I'll try and explain. So with any light, I can probably do a demonstration of that. Here, let me see if it's going to completely, that's dead. So let's see. Okay, so you can see this light right now. This may or may not work on the camera, but let me see. So depending on the distance of the diffusion dome, it's probably not going to work. Actually, you kind of get a sense of that. Can you see that the distance of the light there has a huge impact on what's happening to the light and how it disperses? Let's try it from here. And so what we found in testing is that the reason we don't want to build it into the front of the light is two reasons. One, it makes the actual light much more expensive. And two, biggest reason is that the optimal distance is to have the diffuser away from the front face of the light, so the light has a distance to diffuse over before you then apply the additional diffusion. So with the Smart Softbox, we tested a lot of different distances, a lot of different materials, and that is the optimal distance to ensure that you don't see any individual LED elements and to achieve the optimal level of diffusion. So the Smart Softbox, it will never be built into the AEOS Pro because that's just not the way the light's designed. It's too thin, and to be honest, you just would not want to do it because it actually wouldn't be very flattering or pleasing. On the Neo, there is no intention to do that simply because the technology is it does have a cost to it, and so the smart softbox for AEOS is $499 retail, which is more or less the same price as the Neo. So to be honest with you, for the Neo, this magnetic diffusion dome is super effective, and magnets on. So for most people, that's going to be enough diffusion with the Neo. If you did want to put this through something else, the R90 is a nice option, although it's better suited to the AEOS. Okay, cool.
So Acme Photographic is asking about more specific specs on flash, and we already have those for the AEOS 2 on our website.
Right, so if you go to rotolight.com /AEOS 2 Pro, then right at the top there's a box that says tech specs, and we actually have published guide numbers and specifically, to be very clear about it, exactly what you can expect to achieve. But let me just run you through a couple of those. So, for example, at a distance of 3 feet to the subject, if you were shooting at ISO 100 in flash mode, you'd get f13. If you were shooting at 200, you'd get f18. And if you're shooting at 400, f22. At 6 feet, you'd get f6.3 at ISO 100. You'd get f9 at 200, and you'd get f11 at 400. So again, I mean, to give you some sense, in the studio, you're never going to be working generally above, let's say, f8. And probably, a lot of people generally like to shoot wide open or down that end, depending on what it is you're shooting. But these lights have a lot of output, particularly if you're prepared to to use an ISO of 200 or 400, you're going to have more than enough output for the majority of applications from these lights. Okay. Artemis is asking if we will ever offer a trade-up plan. We don't have any current plans to do that, but we have heard that request a couple of times. So, for sure, it's something we're going to think about. But just to be transparent with you guys, if we did do that, and when you see camera manufacturers do that, it's always going to be off the full retail price of the light. So even if we did offer a trade-up discount, the discount you're currently able to get these lights for on Indiegogo with up to 30% off is going to effectively mean that it just wouldn't make any logical sense. Right now is going to be the cheapest time to ever own a Pro. Outside of the campaign, that is something we may look at, for probably Q1 next year. But as Ed said, we're not going to be giving more than, let's say, 20-25% of value as a trade-in, which actually you're already saving on a Pro right now. So you'd be better off economically to hold on to your light and do the Pro on the Indiegogo right now.
So we've got a couple of questions on the R90 versus the smart softbox.
Okay, cool. So that's Paul. So let's see. So Paul is saying, I've ordered the ultimate kit with the R90. Does it come with the Bones adapter, or would it be better to buy the smart softbox? So let's just pull up right now the Indiegogo page, so we can see what the bundle Paul's referring to. So which is the ultimate kit. So let's take a look here. So we have two different bundles on the AEOS. We have a single light, which is the Studio Softbox bundle, and you get the AEOS 2 Pro with the yoke, battery bag. You also get the R90 in there, and that does include, yes, to your question, that does include the Bones adapter, and the S mount holder for your light stand. In respect of the Ultimate Studio bundle, again, let me just double check here. So Ultimate Studio bundle. So that's a 2 light kit. They again comes fully loaded with two batteries. You also get the R90, and yeah, all of the R90 bundles here are the complete bundles. So it's everything you need. So to answer your question, yes, that is what it comes with. In terms of which one, R90 or Smart Softbox, that's a really tough question to answer. I guess the application the way I'd answer it probably is to ask if you also happen to own a Neo, let's say, and you wanted the option of being able to use both, then the R90 would probably be better in the sense that you can use the R90 with either light. The other point with the R90 is if you happen to own any other lights, like maybe you own a Bowens mount strobe, then you can use the R90 with any other light, not just Rotolight. So that may be a factor. But if you're somebody who maybe already owns those kind of softboxes, then and you want the smart soft, because the smart soft, you can control that from an app, you can control that from 200 feet. The advantage of the smart softbox simply is that rather than having a very large modifier that takes up space, that there would be some environments where the R90 might be too big, or small studios. The beauty of the smart softbox is it gives you a light that's equivalent in terms of softness, but with a much smaller form factor, and the ability to have a kind of harder and softer light in one. So they're both great. I personally love the R90. I would probably I would default to the R90 for most of my studio work, but if I was on location doing weddings or needed to move around, or where wind and environment might be a factor, or maybe I'm working in kind of smaller environments and it was just me, then the smart softbox would be super convenient. So I think they're both great, but just slightly different application. I hope that helps.
So another question was, how does the smart softbox affect the output of the light?
Yeah, that's a good question. The answer is that it obviously depends on the setting. So the beauty with, if you're using a traditional, softbox, like take the R90, right? So it has a one-stop outer and a half-stop inner, so 1.5 stops of total diffusion. The smart softbox provides up to 1.5 stops of diffusion. So if you're at 100%, it would give you 1.5. But the beauty of the smart softbox is that if you were at, for example, 25%, then you'd be about half a stop. And similarly, if you were 50%, you'd be at roughly 1 stop. So it actually, what it's doing is giving you multiple different diffusion settings all in one, which is really, really cool to have. So, okay, so hopefully that answers that question. Let me see here, what other questions do we have here? So Marty McFly says, will we be releasing a new Innova Pro equivalent? Marty, we're always looking to innovate. I think obviously I can't reveal our full product roadmap, but what I can say is it's fairly obvious now that the Innova is quite old. It's been 5 years since the last update. So, I think there are lots of technologies we've developed now around RGB, touchscreen. But what I can say is, if we were going to release a Innova Pro 3, it would be considerably more expensive than the AEOS 2 Pro. If we released the Innova Pro 3, it would not replace an AEOS 2 Pro. That Innova Pro 3 would be much more targeted at a broadcast, cine kind of TV news studio world. So for photography, the AEOS 2 Pro is the product you'd want, and so I definitely wouldn't hold out, for that, if that's what the question was. Let's see, what other questions have we got coming in here?
Frank said the presets worked like a charm, just editing some results right now from the Peter Muller Open Day.
Oh, perfect, that's great. Yeah, the presets are really cool. Does the diffusion dome work on a Neo 2? The answer is that the diffusion dome physically fits on a Neo 2, but the issue, I don't know if you can see this on the stream here, is that inside the diffusion dome there's around 8 to 10 magnets, and actually on the front face of the light you can see them around the edge there, these magnets also. The problem you have is on the Neo 2, those magnets didn't exist. So you could get a diffusion dome for the Neo 2 and gaffer tape it on, that would work. But obviously with the Neo 2 you did already have the diffusion gels included. So that may not be particularly beneficial to do so.
We also had another question that said, if I buy a Pro, do I have to buy presets for my standard lights too?
Yes, you do. So, but you only have to do it once. So if you buy the preset pack on the Indiegogo page one time, even if you had 2, 3, 10, additional standard lights, then you just pay that one time, and that will unlock that for all of your other lights. Although I believe didn't we announce that we actually, if you buy a Pro, existing users were getting the preset pack. I'm pretty sure we did announce that actually. That's just reminding me. So Dan will jump in on that. I'm pretty sure we did announce that actually. So yeah, if you did pledge for the preset pack and you do own a Pro, we will refund that for you. Cool. Artemis is asking, how about a layaway program? So let me just run you through right here on the page the installment plan, because we had a few questions about that and how that works. So what we're trying to do with the installment plan is just, we recognize, economically it's a tough time at the moment. So with the installment plan, all you have to do is you pick the installment plan, which is $499, so it's about $560 roughly, and as soon as the campaign ends, which ends in 72 hours, then you just notify us which of the bundles you intend to put that towards. So it can be for any of them, could be for a single AEOS, could be for a gold bundle, or maybe a Master of Light kit, whatever it may be. And then we will send you an invoice for the balance, which you can pay in installments, or you could pay in full as soon as we notify you it's ready to ship, or whenever you get your January paycheck, for example. So we're trying to make that easier for people. So, but the advantage of doing that is that you get the campaign price now, because as soon as this Indiegogo campaign ends, the price is going right back up. So this is a genuine saving. I think anyone who participated in the last Kickstarter will recognize and be aware of the fact that it is a genuine saving over the retail price on these lights. We do that to try and kind of reward people for jumping in early, backing us early, and being long-term customers. We really do appreciate that. So sorry, let me just see Doug's question here. So Doug's saying, if I upgrade and buy a Pro and I have an existing light, how do I get the presets? Yeah, so very simply, if you buy a Pro at the end of the campaign, we'll just ask you to let us know the email address that you have registered with the Rotolight app, and then we will give you an unlock code that will allow you to have those presets, and it will then send a firmware update from the app to your lights over Wi-Fi, and it will update them for you. And that will happen in January. I'm gonna go through a little bit more of the presentation. I was, guys, keep the questions coming back in. I think we've gone through most of them there, but keep them flowing through. I'll come back to them. So in terms of the Neo and what's new, the Neo is absolutely perfect if you want something handheld. It's super lightweight. It's under half a pound in weight, 350 grams. It runs on these Sony MPF batteries that many of you will probably already own. You can use standard MPF batteries with the Neos in everything apart from flash mode, and the reason for that is that in flash mode, the light doubles the current demand, and a lot of batteries simply go into a safety shutdown. They think there's a trip and they shut the power down. So some don't, but a lot of the ones we tested do. The Neo comes with the battery, so we'd always recommend using the Rotolight batteries for flash. If you're only ever intending on using it in continuous, then feel free to use anything that you like. The Neo comes with a 1/4-20 mounting points all around, so you can put it straight onto something like a Gorilla Pod or an articulating arm and clamp. Just running you through this as well, you also have a 3.5mm flash sync socket right on the back of the light. So if you guys have cameras with PC sync ports, you can get a PC sync to 3.5mm cable, plug it right in, and that will give you on-camera flash. We often get the question, how can I get on-camera flash if I have something like an A7 IV that doesn't have a PC sync port? So if you don't want to use the light in continuous mode, which is the obvious answer, then if you get something like this, which is a Godox X1T, or X2T is the new model, this goes hot shoe onto your camera, and then you can see it's got another shoe right on the top. So you can mount the Neo to the top. This actually does have a PC sync port on it, right on the side. So this will then give you high-speed sync on camera, and this actually does come with the cable you need anyway. So I think you can buy these for about £45, maybe $50. Alternatively, you can buy, if you have a look on Amazon, for something called a hot shoe adapter. You can probably pick them up for about £10 to £15, around $20, and that will give you on-camera flash, but that won't be high-speed sync because it doesn't have the timing connectors that a transmitter does. So there are two options for that. Otherwise, this has all of the same new things. So 25% brighter, has the Godox from ProPhoto built in, all the presets built in, true aperture dimming. It's got these really nice new aluminium dials on the back that they feel really nice. These are going to really last very well and just very robust. So again, on the right hand side here, this is an example of three Neo 3 Pros at work from Jake Hicks. This is the Jake Hicks preset pack. So it's a Neo on the face as the white light, and there's a Neo also behind the subject with a kind of orange amber tone for the background. Otherwise, it's super lightweight. It's about the same kind of size as my hand. And to be honest with you, I would always say, if you can with any light, this is not Rotolight specific, but you really don't want to use this on camera unless you have to, because the lighting's flatter. It's always better to take it off camera, put it on a tripod or lighting stand. And the fact that it now works with the Godox transmitter. We've had a few questions about this. Maybe I'll just jump in which Godox ones work. We've not tested anything that doesn't work, let's put it that way. So we do know that the X1T, the X2T, and the X Pro S, they all definitely work. Also the ProPhoto Air, the Flashpoint, which is basically a rebadged Godox anyway, and Niwa and Pixapro also. We may well be adding others to that list also, but that is the current list. So again, how does Neo compare to other things in the market? Compared to the LED space, nearest things to this would be things like the Rosco DMG Dash. Now, people often ask us about light outputs. Let me give you a very specific comparison. The DMG Dash has a light output of 350 lux at 3 feet. The Neo 3 Pro has an output of over 5,500 lux at 3 feet. So it's more than 20 times brighter. The light panel's Lycos Plus. Again, this is more than double the output. An Aperture MC similarly has 300 lux of output, so again 20 times more output. And bearing in mind, we then flash double that, so we flash well over 10,000 lux or 11,000 lux output. Nothing has touch screen, nothing else has full color, nothing else has anywhere near the same number of gels, typically 100, 150, or none with most of the competitors. If you do video, most of them have no special effects. If they do, only 5 or 9. We're lighter, for example, than the light panel Lycos. We have a bigger range of Kelvin, so 3 to 10 instead of 3.2 to 5.6. Nothing else has the f-stop dimming, nothing else has presets, and nothing else has wireless compatibility with any of those transmitters. So what do people say, apart from us, about these lights? F-stoppers have had these for a couple of weeks and said, I had to rip myself away from playing with these Pro Editions. These lights are prodigious. I'd give them an A+. Let me see here. So scroll down. Here's some examples of some work. So on the left is a beautiful shot from Sam Nash. This is interesting to me because this is Neo 3, right? And a lot of people often say, well, what can you use Neo 3 Pro for? As you can see here, it's lighting the subject head to toe. So the lights have a wide, it's a 50-degree beam angle. So again, this is the other thing with strobes and speed lights, is they often have a very narrow spread. With these lights, they have a wide spread, which means it's softer and you illuminate a wider area. The middle, this is actually a shot I took. I think for me on this shot, like the skin tones really jump out. On the right-hand side, this is a shot from Martin Higgs. You get that beautiful round catch light. If you think about other LED lights, you've probably seen those strip lights, those tubes. what you get in the pupil is a line that's almost like velociraptor kind of slit in the eye, or with the square panels you get this square reflection which in a round pupil doesn't look right. What you're getting with a round catchlight is that you're trying to replicate the sun. That's what you're always trying to do, right? You want to create that beautiful round light, and that's what Rhodolight's famous for. You can see on that shot on the right hand side some examples of the presets. So we're using a beautiful light here for an orange background, and then we've got a blue kind of nice hair light. This next shot, what I want to show on this one, if you have a look at this, is take a look at the shadow. That's what's in, aside from it's a great picture, but look at the shadow, right? And with a lot of LED lights nowadays, what you'll find is people starting to put optics in front of the LEDs to maximize output, is that when you do that, you can often get fringing, like multiple shadows, 3 or 4 versions of the same shadow, which is really, really unflattering. So this shot is just using the diffusion dome only. This comes included standard with the Neo 3 Pro. And you have one beautiful shadow. You have this great kind of soft wrapping edge to it. And it looks stunning. And for me, there was no other modification needed in this shot. It worked perfect. This is the shot from Sam, by the way. Not taking credit for Sam's work here, but it looked great. Let me show you some other applications. So we often get, hey, could you use this for food? Can you use this for product? Absolutely. I mean, look at this shot here. So we've got an AEOS 2 Pro on the left-hand side and a Neo 3 Pro on the right. And, again, in terms of freezing motion, capturing that kind of ice cube drop, and use of color, this is a perfect example of how creative you can be with these colors. And I think that's the problem, is when you have gels, you have to have a very preconceived idea of what you want to achieve before you light it. The beautiful thing with Rotolight is, it's very addictive actually. You kind of just get on the touch screen. You're just running your finger around the color until you find exactly what it is. And to be honest, until you do that, it's very difficult to know what you want. I'm demonstrating on our lovely Charlie here, but I might find a color and then say, you know what, that's too much of it. I just want less saturation of that color. And then I can save that to a preset right on the top. So it's super easy to use. And that's the beauty of working with these lights. I've had this question a lot, so I put this table together to help you guys understand the power differences. So very simply, what this does is this is saying at the kelvins listed above, so 3,000 to 10,000 Kelvin, what is the lux increase compared to a standard model? So you can see that firstly, the increase is completely across the board. So the whole range of Kelvin is brighter. Now on the Neo and AEOS, slightly different in the performance. So on the Neo, the biggest improvement in performance is at 3200 Kelvin and around the 6000 Kelvin mark. But even at the peak midpoint, and 5000, you're still getting 15-20% more output, but you're getting up to 30% actually at 3000, 7000, 8000. Now on the AEOS, it looks slightly different, whereby on the AEOS, the biggest improvement is actually at 4600 Kelvin. So you're getting 25 to 30% more output there. And then across the rest of the range, it's 10 to 15%. But there is not a single point of Kelvin where the light is not brighter. This is continuous only, just to be clear. So I hope that helps clear that one up. But, what does that translate to? Yes, that's around a third of a stop. But that's still a lot more output. I'd still much rather have that. That can make the difference between making an f-stop and having to go into a different f-stop. So, more power is always better as far as I'm concerned. And here's a couple of different examples. So this is Kate and Brent, who are two phenomenal wedding photographer and videography, and these guys were shooting pro photo, and they often have the problem whereby when they're doing a wedding and someone's doing photo and video, Brent, who's doing the video, would have to wait until the photos were finished before he could do his video, because otherwise he's getting strobes through the whole video, and he was having to use different lights to when they're doing stills, and they had to, it was a nightmare. So the beautiful thing with this is that they're able to use one lighting system, so they use AEOS's and Neos, and they can do a whole wedding, photo and video. And there's the setup, and there's the result. I mean, look at that. That's, it's a hall that was otherwise in darkness, just absolutely stunning. Again, look at the shadow behind them. One beautiful shadow, nice wrapping quality of the light, great skin tones. All those things that Rotolight is well known for. In low light scenarios, in weddings, so things like dance floor shots or these kind of shots, they absolutely shine, pardon the pun, in this kind of setting. So, look at the blue here as well. So again, use of, why would you use colors? Well, we're trying to accentuate the moonlight in this shot, really play up on the blues that you're seeing through the window, and that works really well. We've already talked about that. Again, here's some more kind of classic shots, but you can see on the right hand side just gorgeous skin tones. We've filled in all the shadows outdoors. You get that great kind of kick of light in the eye. And here's some work from Sam Nash. Again, left hand side outdoors in the daylight. No shadows. It's filled in perfectly. Beautiful skin tones, lovely round catch lights. And for those of you who don't know, we have an iOS and Android app that's free of charge. You can control up to 20 lights on that. It displays the Kelvin output. You can choose filters and use a color wheel. For those of you who may be tempted to ask, we are adding legacy support for the older Neo 2s and AEOS 1s, which we're working on and we're hoping to have ready for end of the year. Obviously, we'll keep you posted on that. It's a big job, but obviously we always try to provide additional value for older customers wherever possible. And that again just saves time. Saves a lot of time. This is the Smart Softbox. So, Professional Photo just reviewed this and said, it's a tool that's so extraordinary, so clever, and so original. It's hard to grasp the fact that this accessory could truly change one's approach to lighting in such a fundamental way. So obviously we were thrilled with that review. It is a really cool softbox. Jason Lanier's just done a really cool video where if you go on his channel, he shows you exactly what it does real world. There's a video from me you can check out on YouTube where I take you through a little run through of it. So have a look at that. If you are an existing owner, you can. So maybe I'll just show that here. So one thing people may not realize is if you come onto the Indiegogo page here, you can actually go and pledge for a £2 bag. Now, as much as the bag is nice, that's not the reason for the pledge. What this bag does is that it opens up the accessory store. So you pledge that bag and then you see a whole suite of kind of goodies behind it. So if you just want the Smart Softbox, you can go and pledge for that, and then you'll get 25% off the Smart Softbox in the accessory store. So if you need spare batteries, if you need an R90, if you want a yoke, you get 25% off and free shipping globally. So, go and take advantage of that if you need anything else. Again, that's the best time to buy any accessories, will be right now. So I think, love to take some more questions. Do we have some more questions coming in, Charlie?
Yeah. So Dan has kind of already answered it, but what setup would you recommend for a small home studio for commercial product photo and video? I think looking at the available options. I think we showed the shot earlier, right, which was a product setup, and in this setup they were using where is the shot? Here we go. They're using one AEOS and a Neo. I think optimally, it would be better to have 3 lights available. So I think there's a couple of packages you could consider depending on budget. The one that will offer you the most flexibility would, for me, be the Gold Bundle. And the reason for that is you get 2 of the AEOSs, which are more powerful, softer, and then you can use the Neo as a fill or a backlight. That would be a great option. The other option that would work well if they're small products would be something like the Neo Pro Studio Kit. If you're shooting larger products or you also want the opportunity of doing portraits, then I'd be more tempted to go for the Gold Bundle, because the AEOS has a lot more power. But I think either of those would work well. You could get away with doing it with the portrait pack, which is one AEOS and one Neo, but it's always better to have 3 lights available when you're doing those because it helps eliminate shadows, and gives you more options. So
Terry's asked, the AEOS 2 Pro and the Neo 3 Pro have an estimated shipping date of January. Based on final testing and production, how realistic is it for the products to meet that date?
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is very realistic. Unlike the last campaign, I mean, for those who were involved in the last campaign, we delivered the AEOS early. The Neo was within 2 or 3 weeks of the advertised time. Afterwards, unfortunately, the Ukraine conflict got in the way, but they were very close to the advertised date. This time round, obviously the Neo 3 and AEOS 2 are already in production. We've been shipping those lights and shipped tens of thousands of those in the last year. So the production line exists. The plastic tooling and things like that is the same. The main difference is there's a new PCB electronic board, and obviously things like the handles and the knobs. So the lights are already in production as we speak. Typically on a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo, it's very common that maybe there would be like a 3 or 6 or 9 month waiting time sometimes. That's not the case here. Rotolight has been, for those of you who don't know, Rotolight's been around for 13 years. We've shipped 140,000 lights around the world. We intend on being here for a lot longer to come. With the support of all you guys. So, it's not the same risk in the sense of a kind of unknown company who's never shipped a product before. So that being said, I think January is very realistic, would be my short answer to that question.
Someone's also asked about the base kit for the AEOS 2 Pro. Does it come with a battery?
Right, so let's just show you here. So the base kit, which is the single light option, that does not come with a battery. So the reason we've done that is that exactly for the reason you asked, is that if you already own an existing battery, which you may have bought with an AEOS 1, for example, is exactly the same battery that works here, the Rotolight 95 battery, or maybe if you have any other V-mount batteries, they will work, any V-mount battery will work with the AEOS 2 Pro. So the single light kit comes with a power supply, not a battery. It also does not include the yoke. I would recommend the yoke for sure. What it does include, I don't know if we have one here, do we have the battery plate maybe or not? But what it does include is we actually have a really cool accessory that not many people know about, which it takes 2 of the Neo batteries and converts it into a V plate. So it takes two Neos and goes onto the AEOS V adapter and allows you to run an AEOS 2 Pro from 2 Neo batteries. So in this single light bundle, we're actually throwing that adapter in for free. So if you happen to own a Neo 3, you may already have 2 batteries. These are relatively inexpensive. They're $69, and I think they're on sale now in the accessory store as well. So that can be a very economic way of powering an AEOS. So something to think about.
Someone asked, are any of the lights weather sealed?
None of the lights are weather sealed, no, but we wouldn't officially say this, but very light drops of rain, very light, I should say, probably okay. But we have full weather rain covers available for these in the store if there's any kind of prolonged exposure or anything heavier than a couple of drops. Definitely use those. And to be very clear with the rain covers, they have a material that allows air out and in, but it does not allow moisture. So you can use the light in that rain cover all day long without it overheating, but it will keep it fully dry. So definitely recommend that if you want to have that option. Keep your questions coming in, guys. Happy to answer anything.
So I'm in the middle of moving. Will I be able to update my shipping address?
Yes, you will. So basically the way that it works, on when the campaign ends, we'll send out a survey that will allow you to tell us where you want us to ship it in January. If you email us at support@rotolight.com, we can always deal with that manually for you to make a change.
So following on from the battery plate you were talking about, how does that affect the duration compared with using a V-mount?
to answer the question very specifically, so one of the Rotolight Neo batteries is a 44.4 watt hour battery, so let's call it 45 for argument's sake. So two of them gives you 90. So you're going to get a reasonable amount of runtime. It won't be as long as a 95. So an AEOS 2 Pro, if you're running it at absolutely full power, draws 120 watts an hour. So and standard 95 at 100% would give you about 45 minutes. Now, in real world conditions, you're going to get more like an hour and a half, 2 hours out of a 95 if you're using it 40-50%, which is more common. These will last a bit less long, maybe let's say 25-30% less than that. But there's still a good way of running it if you want to do it inexpensively, or if you want to share batteries between lights.
What are the warranties on the Pro lights?
So the warranties on the Pro lights are 1 year standard. Although I think everyone here, if you're familiar with Rotolight, and by the way, if no one is on the Rotolight user group on Facebook, I strongly recommend joining because it's such a great community of people. But I think one thing that we are very famous for is our customer service. And so, there's many people in the user group or probably on this YouTube stream right now who will tell you that they've had lights that 3, 4, 5 years old, that we've offered, we offer full service on. People have lost parts for lights and we've sent out products free of charge, if they've lost things like domes or filters before. We always try to help. And so even if the product's outside of warranty, we offer full service outside of warranty. The only thing we would ask in that situation is that you cover, if you damaged it, you just cover the cost of the part to replace it. But we offer service, that's the point. And I think the other point just generally is that these lights don't go wrong. So, when they do, again, a lot of people will have the experience. We actually offered advanced replacement on Neo 3s and AEOS 2s if people did have any issues, which were very minor. We sent them a new one out even before we received the other one back, which is rare. But rest assured, when you buy Rotolight, that is the difference than buying a cheap Chinese light. We appreciate you're making an investment. One statistic that's interesting, which we found out the other day, is 72% of Rotolight customers have 2 or more lights, and 40% of Rotolight customers have 3 or more. So it tends to be when people join the Rotolight family, they stay with Rotolight, and I think hopefully the service is part of the reason for that. Yeah, thanks, Marty. I appreciate that.
Ian's asked about the best stand to use for the R90.
Yeah, so if you're using an R90, you definitely don't want to use a standard one of
like medium stand.
Yeah, I would not recommend the medium or even the Anova stand. You want to use a C stand, and you want to sandbag it. It's more center of gravity is the issue. That if you have the R90 and you've angled it down and you put a light on it, that wants to be on a C stand or it's going to want to tip. The medium stands are great for the light being lightweight, but they're not designed for that kind of weight. So any C stand, would work well. So yeah, definitely a C stand and optimally a sandbag.
I don't think we've got any more questions at the moment.
Any other questions, guys? Really happy to answer anything. If not, let me just take you through the page a little bit and maybe talk through some of these pledges a little bit, if that might be helpful for people. So we talked about the installment plan. You just make that $4.99. Tell us at the end of the campaign which one you want to apply it to, and you don't have to pay the rest until it's ready to ship. Tote bag is a fantastic way of just getting access to the accessory store, 25% off all the accessories. There's some phenomenal deals on Titan at the moment. If you've had your eye on a Titan, you can actually save up to 40% off a Titan right now in the accessory store. So that's a great option in there. Preset pack. You only need to buy a preset pack if you're a Neo 3 or AEOS 2 customer and you're not intending on buying a Pro. If you are going to buy a Pro, we will include the preset pack free of charge. And if you have already pledged for it, just let us know at the end and we can refund that for you. The Neo 3 Pro image maker is the single light if you just want one light. It comes with everything you need. So you get a really nice carry case, you get the battery and charger, you get the diffusion dome, and you also now get a ball head, which did not come with the previous generation Neo 3s, which allows you to angle it on the stands. That's a great option. Ultra soft bundle. This is really designed for existing customers. So if you've had your eye on the R90 and the smart softbox, maybe you own multiple AEOSs or multiple Rotolights, then you get an R90 complete bundle and the smart softbox, and you get 25% off both. Dual light bundle, obviously if you want 2 Neos, this would be great for doing things like headshots, where you want a key light and a backlight, maybe food photography, those kind of applications. You get an additional discount for buying 2 together. It's a bit cheaper than buying 2 lots of 1. The AEOS single light, if you're going to go for an AEOS and you're a new customer, I would not recommend this SKU. If you are a new Rotolight customer, you want to go for the image maker kit, and the very simple reason for that is that the image maker kit comes with the yoke, which is highly recommended, and it also comes with the battery and the detach charger and the bag. So that is the one to go for if you just want one AEOS and you're new to Rotolight. The single light kit would make sense if you're an existing owner of a V-Lock battery from Rotolight. So maybe you bought one with an AEOS 1 or maybe an ANOVA, or you've got spares. Then that's when that would make sense. I'd still recommend buying the yoke if you don't have one, but you may also already have a yoke. And just to be clear, by the way, the AEOS yoke works with all of the AEOSs. So even if you bought it 2 or 3 years ago, the AEOS barn doors work with all of the AEOSs. Similarly, the Neo barn doors are the same. We always try where possible to make that easy for people that, those investments you're making in accessories, carry forward. So moving down, we have, effectively there's 3 ways, to buy AEOS. You can buy it as a single light with battery. You can buy it something we call the Studio Softbox bundle, which is the R90, and the Smart Soft bundle. For me personally, I really love the R90. I think that's a killer modifier. It's very versatile, very soft. If you're doing portrait work, that's probably what I would go for if you just want one light. That being said, let's say you're a content creator. Maybe you're creating videos where you're doing weddings, and actually the light is often maybe further away from you, and you want to be able to control the diffusion wirelessly, remotely. Or you're working as a small team, you're going outdoors, indoors, you've got issues with wind, you don't want to have sandbags, then the Smart Soft bundle is a great option if those are your concerns. The portrait pack is one of each. So as the name suggests, it's really great for portraits. The AEOS, because it's so much more powerful, 2.5 times the power, that's a really great bundle if you want something. You could do full-length shots with that, you could do headshots with that. You could have the Neo as a backlight for color, or as a hair light, or a fill, getting the beautiful softness of the AEOS. All of these products, by the way, just to be clear, every version of Neo 3 and AEOS Pro come with domes. Diffusion domes are standard, so you do have that level of diffusion built in. 3-light Neo kit, I think this would be fantastic if you want to travel. This will fit on the overhead bin of an airplane. If you're doing kind of 3-light corporate shoots where you don't want to have tons of bags and tons of gear with you, that would work really well. If you're doing food photography, if you're doing product work, that would be great. Personally, for portraits, I'd want to have an AEOS. That would be my AEOS. If portraits is your go-to work, you want to have a bundle with an AEOS in it. So in terms of those, silver is a 1 AEOS, 2 Neo, and what that would allow you to do is have an AEOS key light, Neo as a fill, maybe a second Neo as a background, or maybe color effects. In fact, so you can see on the left-hand side here, we had 2 AEOSs on the subject, we had 2 Neos in the background doing color. So being able to do things like color from both sides is nice. The Traveler kit is a 2-light AEOS option with a bag and stands. Obviously, I'm slightly biased, but having used the products for a lot of shots myself, my favorite bundle would be the gold bundle. And I'll explain why. The gold bundle is 2 AEOSs and 1 Neo. And what that does, because the AEOS is so much more powerful than the Neo, it's almost 3 times the power, it's also much softer. This just gives me a lot of different options of the sort of work that I can shoot with it. So, I could do studio portraits, full length. I could do group shots. I could do weddings. I could do
product work. I could do food. I could do commercials. I could do music video. There's very little that you couldn't do with that gold bundle if budgets allow. But I do appreciate this is fully sort of budget dependent. The platinum bundle is a 3 light Neo and a 2 light AEOS kit. So that's kind of like a fully fledged bundle. And for those of you who may follow Jake Hicks's work or seen any of the videos we've done with Jake, if you ask Jake what would he recommend, what does he use, Jake's very clear that for him, Neo's a cool light, but not something that he would use really in his work. He uses AEOS. And the reason for that is that it's more powerful. It has a better spread of light. It's more optimally suited for portraits because it's bigger and softer. And so this is, almost kind of like the Jake Hicks pack, if you like, which is, if you've seen any of the shots we posted or any of his videos, Jake is always using at least 3 lights. So it's 3 lights, a complete R90. You get barn doors, so you can shape the light. You get yokes. We also have upgraded the batteries in this bundle to 155s, which, by the way, if anyone has done AEOSes, I would strongly recommend doing the 155 battery upgrade. So if you look in the perk store, you can do a 95 to 155 upgrade. It gives you 50% more battery power for not very much more money. It's a much better way of working. And actually, ironically, the 155 battery is smaller, which is slightly counterintuitive, but it just is. So that is a worthwhile upgrade in any of the AEOS bundles you've done. But yeah, I just hope that's useful, kind of talking this through. Any more questions coming in?
You also get a workshop with the master.
Oh, you do, yeah. That's a good point, Charlie. Yeah, sorry. So you also get a workshop with this bundle. So we also, instead of the plug-in wall chargers, you get a 4-way V-lock charger that will charge all 4 at the same time, and it does it in half the time. Plugging them into the wall would do it. You get R90, you get barn doors, and you get a Master of Light workshop with any of Master of Light of your choice. So that could be Jake Hicks, could be Sam Nash, could be Jason Lanier. And those workshops typically are $300, $250 at least, £250 I should say. So that's a really cool bundle. So any other questions, guys, before we wrap this up?
So going back to the rain conversation, is there a rain cover for the AEOS 2 that covers the battery?
Yes, there is. So if you go onto the road, well, in fact, it'll be in the store. We call it the Innova and AEOS rain cover. It's designed for both. So it will go over the battery and the light. That's available right now. It's in stock. So yeah, definitely recommend that if you want to use it outdoors. Any other questions, guys? Charlie, is there any questions in the user group stream we need to check?
Not in the user group stream.
I've seen a couple on here. Sam's asked, when is the Rod 2000 hair coming back? Thankfully never, Sam. Thankfully never. So let me see here. Any other questions, guys? What is the meaning of life? I mean, that is a good question. I'm not sure we've got time for that today. Carl asked the question about can you use these in optical slave? The answer is no. None of the Rotolights have an optical slave sensor, and traditional flash optical slaves don't pick up LED light in the same way. They're on different wavelengths, and in the same reason that a lot of traditional light meters don't register an LED flash. It's the same issue. So that would be why. Any other questions, guys, or I think we'll look to wrap this up.
Are we going to ship beginning or end of January?
It's more likely to be towards middle to end of January.
Reckless Thor 4 was asking if we'll ever create a light smaller than the Neo 3.
I mean, Rotolight, we started business with a product called the R48, which we still sell. That's available right now. I think Rotolight has gone down the route of wanting to provide people with really unique features. So things like the touch screen, the smart soft app control, and all of that requires a certain amount of size. These lights are pulling a lot of power now. The lights are getting brighter, so they need fans and all this kind of thing. So that does somewhat limit the potential form factor. And I think we always get questions about power, and I want more power, and going smaller means less power. So
it's not on the radar at the moment. To be honest.
Terry Parker has asked, when ordering the instalment plan, will you be able to add accessories when you put what kit you want, or do you need to order the accessories separately?
Yeah, no, you can do that, Terry. So basically, as soon as it ends, if you just tell us, basically what is the kit list you want of accessories and which bundle do you want to put it to, you can add as many accessories as you like, and you get 25% off all the accessories. So all you need to do is take part in that installment plan, and then that kind of locks in the campaign pricing, so it keeps that available to you until we ship. So you can feel free to add as many accessories as you like.
What's the best way to travel with the AEOS 2 on a plane?
The bag that comes included with all of the AEOS bundles, apart from the single, like the image maker bundle or the traveler kit, will fit on the overhead of an airplane. So that would be the way I'd recommend doing it. I definitely would not check that bag. So carry it with you, put it on the overhead. That's the safest way to do it.
Illis Photography has asked, what is the best process of becoming one of your ambassadors?
The best process, to be honest with you, is create beautiful work, tag us on social, and the longest relationships we've had, and the best way of forming relationships with us over time is organically. Sam Nash is a good example of that. Sam was a customer for 8 years before he became a master of light, and he came to our attention because of the work he was posting. So we never like to, it never makes sense ever to pay people to represent products, because it's not genuine. People can tell it's not genuine. We like it to be very organic. It's you've got to create beautiful work, tag us in it, and that is the best way. And things can start from there.
And if you can, come and meet us at our events.
Come and meet us at events, yeah, for sure. So keep an eye out. Rotolight.com/events. We'll be announcing next year's events soon. Any other questions, guys?
Can you check out with these deals and pay with Klarna?
Not from here, no. So on the Indiegogo page,
your best option is the installment.
Your best option would be in the installment plan. So that's kind of like the Klarna equivalent, right? So Klarna they usually offer a pay in 3. This is even better than that, actually, in the sense that all you got to do is make a down payment of $499. So it doesn't matter if you're buying, for argument's sake, a £4,000 bundle. We only need $499, and then we won't charge you anything until it's ready to ship in January. Of course, if you want to pay earlier, you're welcome to, but there's no need to. So that is the best way. Otherwise, to be frank about it, when the campaign ends, you will be able to do Klarna on the Rotolight.com website, but the downside is it'll be a full price. So, you're making a considerable saving now if you are in a position to do that.
So we have answered all the questions, I believe, but if we have missed any, please comment on this live below, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Yeah, 100%. I hope you've enjoyed it, guys. It's been fun to do this, and if you have enjoyed it, we'll try and do it more regularly. That's something we want to do a lot more of next year. So, keep a lookout for this. We intend to do more of this, and I think the only thing I would say just to wrap up is that there's 72 hours to go, guys. So if you have been waiting, don't miss out. This is a great time to get on board. These are genuine savings. I know it's tough times out there, but if you are in a position to do it, there won't be a better time to buy. We at Rotolight, we try and create products. Ultimately, I love my photography. We create products we want to use ourselves. That's the ultimate goal, and it's always amazing for us to see what you guys create with them. We love seeing your work, so please do tag us. We're hugely grateful for the support. Any questions, drop us a line. Otherwise, as I say, head on over to the page, which is rotolight.com/time to go pro. Jump on these deals, and look forward to seeing you at workshop in 23, and show you how to get the best out of these lights there. So thanks very much. I say bye from me, bye from Charlie.
Bye guys.
Thanks
Don't
guys.
forget, we've got UK events this weekend in London and Leicester, And by Lumiere, Kate and Brent are doing a live tomorrow at 7 p.m. about wedding photography and the new Pro lights.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that. That's going to be great. So if you've got any questions on, can I use these at weddings? How do they perform? They're going to show you exactly what they do and their impressions. So yeah, Sam Nash, London and Leicester this weekend. Head on over to rotolight.com/events to sign up. It's free of charge. It's a great, come and get hands on with these, see them in action, see what they can do.
Pamela's saying we've also got an event in the US with Mark Mann next week. That would be an amazing event too.
Dean has asked, I ordered a Neo 3 but want to add an AEOS. Does that qualify for the down payment? I mean, yeah, effectively, yes, the Neo 3 is $499. So if you want to convert that into the installment plan, Dean, just drop us an email with your pledge number and we'll convert that into the installment plan. Then you can add an AEOS to it. Artemis is saying, I don't see a $499 payment. Let me just show you where that is. So if you look on the page, right at the top, number 1, installment plan, right here. So all you do is you select that perk, press get this perk and check out. And then right at the end of the campaign, you just tell us what bundle you're putting that towards. So you could put that, for example, towards any of these under bundles. All you got to do is just check out with that installment plan and then it locks in the campaign pricing for you. Nothing else is due until we're ready to ship in January.
Yeah, if you still have an issue with that, Artemis, then please drop us an email and we'll try and help you.
Yeah, perfect. Pamela's mentioned also, if you guys are in New York, we have a fantastic event next week with Focus Camera with Mark Mann. So make sure you guys sign up for that. Head on over to Focus Camera and check that out. That's going to be great. Also, if anyone's listening from Tokyo, right now we are at the Interbe show. You can see the new Pro Editions there right now. So head on over. Otherwise, thanks guys. Listen, really appreciate it. Thanks for the support and otherwise have a nice evening. All right, take care.